Okay, welcome to week 5. You should have submitted your resume and cover letter by now. I understand that there are some obstacles in that. Once you have kind of gotten over some of the challenges of actually creating those resumes and cover letters, which I hope there were plenty of resources on, then there's the idea that they both have to be uploaded together and submitted together. So if you did not do one of those, I sent you back a note and I said either email it to me or you can upload it again. And any additional questions about those, please send me. I have gone against tradition in our school or generally what people do, and instead of giving a 0 for only one aspect of one part of the project 4, I've literally graded what you've submitted. So for example, if you have a very good, excellent, almost perfect cover letter but no resume, I would have given you maybe a 48 or 49 instead of a 0. So that helps a little bit, but obviously you're going to want to have the whole thing. So let's talk about today. As you can see, it's all about moolah. We'll learn the difference between needing and wanting expenses. And you can only say that for yourself. You're going to learn how your credit score matters and where to find it, and why I think you should really go to this place and look for it immediately and really start digging into that. How credit is different from debit, and importance of budgeting. Okay. So your wants versus your needs. They put it in 2 categories here, so it's all over the place. Food, nutritious food, is clearly a need, but Starbucks coffee is clearly a want. But for some people who can manage it, maybe that is a nice thing. Okay? So, entertainment, depending on what your entertainment is that going to be inexpensive or expensive? Transportation, etc. So we have all of these different things that people that I think we can say and we can identify what other people and what generally is considered a need versus a want. But how's that going to affect you? Credit or debit? Let's talk about it. What is a credit score? An excellent credit score is 750 to 840. That is a really, really, really important thing to have in life. A good credit score, fair and poor. Some people don't even have one at all, and I'm talking about adults, etc. So let's talk about what's important when they're looking at your credit score. And I don't know if any of this will surprise you, but payment history obviously is really, really important, right? 35%. But I'd like you to think about types of credit, new credit, length of credit history. So if you only have it's just really, really recent. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Which is better? Okay? Number 1. This is the first scenario. You have $15,000 of credit line. You have $15,000 that you are allowed to spend, but you've spent $10,000. Oops. Almost. Sorry, I forgot a 0. That's scenario number 1. Number 2 is you only have a credit line of $5,000 and you've spent $1,500 of it. Which is worse? Which is better? I asked you which is better. Do you want 10 to 15 or 1.5 to 5? Which is better? Which would be more desirable to have? That's right. Because you don't have much of a credit, but you have a lower credit ratio. That is really, really important. The credit ratio is very important. So I'm going to ask you guys another question before I go on. Can you think of the name of the most famous free credit reporting website? The most popular free credit reporting website? Oh, I saw someone typing. That is correct. Credit Karma is correct. Both of you are correct. That's fantastic. I'm glad you know that because I highly recommend that you as students, on the precipice of graduating from high school, moving on to different choices for yourselves, I encourage you to do that. So to go to Credit Karma. So we've got the higher score. Obviously, you're going to get a better interest rate. It's easier to get credit. It's easier to get a loan or a car lease or a lower mortgage payments. It's just so much easier. And you know how they say, you've got to have money to make money. Well, that's so true. So here they are in your credit score. And unfortunately, your annual percentage rate over here really increases the lower your credit score. You really get penalized for having a low credit score. So there are things you can do, and Credit Karma has some nice ideas. And I'm not advertising for anyone, but it is kind of free. They pay for it with advertisements, so you kind of have to dig through those. But they have some suggestions, and a lot of those are advertisements. But it is the idea is don't have too much credit. Don't run up your credit cards. Pay them on time. Have something for a really long time. It really helps. So, whenever possible, you should use your credit card for really large ticket items, and often for online purchases. People say do that all the time. You don't want to use your debit because if that gets cracked, they can drain everything. And depending on your bank, how fast you'll get that back, etc. Usually, credit cards have some sort of guarantee or security. Gas stations and hotels for holds, so you're not holding anything out of your bank account. When I turned 25, which is the age you need to be to rent a car, I rented a car, and they took a lot of money out of my checking account, and that was very difficult then to travel because they held that money. Of course, as you know, debit cards take directly from your bank. When I was a young woman, we mostly wrote checks. Obviously, people work with cash all the time. There's a lot of less cash nowadays. It's safer, particularly. I think it kind of can be a gender thing where women want to, have that safety of that and not have the cash. And it just takes it directly from your bank account. And depending on your bank, you can get certain points. The videos, of course, don't play immediately, but we're going to talk about why budgeting. So why do we want to budget? So these are some questions that are have come up in your Unit 5 discussions of why it's important to budget and what you want to budget for. And then with budgeting, how much are you going to put there? So there's a general question in your course, and I'm just going to ask you. If you don't remember, that's okay. How much is recommended to save per paycheck per month? What percentage? What percentage do they recommend that you put towards saving? 10% is correct. You put 10% toward your towards savings. It really adds up fast. For a lot of banks, no matter how humble the account, like it's a starter account, they often have a savings account that can sweep away a few pennies, a few dollars automatically for you. Okay. You don't even have to make that decision yourself. So I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to close her up. And there's that Adobe Connect question I was asking. And I'm going to go, back over here.
Number 1, I have never even heard of it. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5.
We're going to talk about the survey. So as I keep going, is there any questions for anyone? Does anyone have any questions?
$7,000 a year. And that's just tuition.
No? Okay. So as I pull this up, I want to talk to you about Your final exam. Your final exam is worth 15% of your grade, so that could mean a grade and a half.
Yale's not on here.
That could be a grade and a half going up to, so if you have a C, you could go to a B plus.
So I want to thank you.
If you have a B plus, you could get an A. If you have an F, you could potentially get a D or a D plus, which is passing. All right? D, C plus, that type of thing. You could go up a whole, so really, 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 really important that you take the final exam. And the sooner you take it, and if you, let's say you don't do well, you can ask me for a retake. You can review. I'll clone the exam for you, which means a lot of the same questions. You can see what you got right, and you can see what you got wrong, and you can take it again. Because getting that final exam score way up is really important. That also goes, of course, for these for your projects. As I discussed, it's kind of a mixed bag here. Only three projects, which is great. But then they're worth 10% apiece because projects are 30%. So it's kind of weighted kind of heavy. So let's talk about my success. Week 5 survey. We already talked about this. So we didn't, but this is in there. Which amount best explains what you should spend on housing per month? What's the best to spend on housing per month? A, B, 30, 45, 10, or 25? You know what? That's okay. I want you to see these questions and then know that you can go to your course and find them. Next. A blank draws money directly from your banking account. Credit, gift, debit, baseball. Thank you, Aaliyah. You should put blank amount of your paycheck toward savings, which we've just discussed. A blank, credit report, debit report, credit agency, or credit card. Where will you find the reality check for lesson 17, which of course you can find in lesson 17. And most of these are a little bit silly. And then this is the last one, which we talk a little bit about how to manage some of the expectations in your life and some of the things that are going on. So pretty simple stuff. Just go ahead and submit that when you can, and I will send that out to you all right now. So as I am doing that, I want to, of course, ask how I can be of assistance in any other way. Now, if you have nothing, I will say that what I will do is I will include those 4 recordings, or 5 recordings,